In this 5-part video series, we're counting down our top 5 biggest what-ifs in Toronto Raptors history. In our previous videos, we discussed picks 2 through 5, which were no doubt significant moments in franchise history, but none more significant than the number 1 biggest what-if that we will be talking about in today's video. So check out our previous videos if you haven't seen them yet. But without further ado, let's get into it, our biggest what-if in Toronto Raptors history.
The top what if in Raptors franchise history, which we all have consensus on. And I know if you're watching this episode, I know you know what the number 1 is, which is
breaking news, Kawhi watch appears to be over. Reports that the former Raptors player, a playoff MVP, has signed with the Los Angeles Clippers. The city of Toronto made its best effort to try and coax the superstar to stay, but he was drawn back to his hometown of LA.
Mr. Fun Guy, Kawhi Leonard. If he doesn't leave after winning a championship, if he stays and he comes back to Toronto, what does this franchise look like today? And do we have 2 banners up there instead of just the 1? What do you guys think?
Well, I mean, like anyone with common sense, I've never seen this in the history of basketball where you win a championship and then just decide to just leave. It just doesn't make sense to me. So you at least try, even if you sign a 1-year deal, I don't care. Even if you sign whatever, you sign a 4 or 5-year deal, pull a Jimmy Butler when things go bad, right? Do whatever you want, right? But you at least give it a chance to run it back. And you know what? Maybe just like the theme that's been going on today, how everyone regrets things, maybe 10 years from now, Kawhi's going to say something and regret it. Mark my words, 10 years from now, he'll regret it. He'll publicly say he regrets it. He's going to LA and look at what's happened to his career. Right down the toilet. Injured every second, didn't work out with Paul George. Now he's out fighting forest fires. You know what I mean? What is he doing? Like, I'm going to take a break. Like, I'm going to take a break what are you doing? Just say you don't like basketball anymore. You're tired of losing. You screwed up. You left the championship team and apologize to us. Apologize to me personally. I don't care what anyone wants to tell me about. He wants to go back home. How many years has this man been in the NBA? All of a sudden, he has the undying urge to return to LA immediately. I mean, make that make sense to me.
But he didn't. He was going to stay, because I think there was a clip of Paul George in an interview saying he was supposed to go to Toronto. So I think Kawhi was okay with staying. He just didn't want to stay with the same roster that he just won a championship with. That in and of itself is just silly and annoys me that he didn't think it was good enough. He must have thought it was a fluke, maybe because of KD got hurt. Maybe he didn't think the Raptors deserved to win. And so he was only willing to stay if Masai could land Paul George, and because Masai, I guess, didn't want to trade what was needed to get Paul George, he decided to take Paul George and go to LA. So he was going to stay, or he was willing to stay, but he had demands, which Masai didn't want to meet, which I think rightfully so. We saw that Paul George and Kawhi didn't end up doing anything in the Clippers, and Siakam ended up blowing up right after. Like, if he had stayed and Kawhi and Siakam was able to step up in the same way that he did without Kawhi, I mean, for sure, we did good. We finished second the year after without Kawhi. Like, I feel like we would have definitely went back to the finals that year in the bubble. Potentially, we would have won it all. So yeah, I mean, it's very clear that that's a huge what if for the Raptors.
Absolutely. I think you just expressed my frustration. It's the same thing. I think if you're a Raptor fan, that's the biggest what if whatever. We would have 2 championships right now, or at least 2 finals appearances for sure. We would have played that Laker team in the bubble, and then who knows what would have happened from there. Although matchup-wise, we would have matched up very well against them because we had Gasol and we had Ibaka to go against Davis. LeBron and Kawhi would have been a write-off, and then we had probably the better team. Although, they did have Dwight Howard as another big back then, but still. It's so frustrating that a player could win a championship, literally put together one of the best individual seasons ever, in terms of his killer assassin mentality, especially when it came to the playoffs, and then just throw it all away. Like winning a championship is easy. Like Abby said, Pascal blew up. Not the very next year, but the year after that, he then blew up to another level. And Pascal fits Kawhi's game better than Paul George does, anyways. Like Paul George is a one-on-one guy. He can shoot the three in a corner and things like that, but he likes to come off the screens, be one-on-one. Where Siakam was a do everything for Kawhi. I'll rebound, I'll defend, I'll assist. Like he was that perfect mold. And we did finish second the very next year. So we had a very good second. Like even though we lost at that time the best player in the league, we finished second. Our defensive rating was second in the whole league, even without Kawhi. Opponents' points per game, number one in the league, even without Kawhi. So you had a defensive monster like Kawhi on that team. Those numbers probably go to number one each. And we all know defense wins championship. He goes to the Clippers. They lost that same year, also in the second round to Denver in 7, just like we did. So we both ended up in the exact same position. What the hell? You know what I mean? Like, it made no sense for him to do that. It's a big what if, and I agree with you, Justin. Only 10 years. I know before that, he'll be regret. I think he regrets it now. He'll never say it. But I think there will be an acknowledgement before 10 years that that was probably the dumbest mistakes in basketball, in his career for sure. But in basketball, like championship wise, it was just ridiculous. And
it's when I think about that moment of Kawhi leaving, the whole Kawhi experience, it's a weird experience because we became champions, but then the guy just left right afterwards. So it's like, it doesn't make any sense. Like you can't even really look back and truly enjoy that whole championship experience because he just immediately left right afterwards. So which is mind-boggling, right? And like you said, Justin, like who wins a championship and then leaves the team that you won a championship with? It's like, and you don't even say, okay, I'll run it back 1 year. Like I understand, Abby, your point about he wanted Paul George, and I guess he didn't truly believe in the roster. And he must, to your point, he must have also thought, okay, maybe we lucked out, with Golden State being hurt, and maybe we lucked out with winning the championship, because otherwise, why would you not believe in that roster, right? But then the very next year, the man, you read out the numbers, he was proven incorrect. Like, look at the stats. Look how good we were. That Raptors, like, to me, the fact that you could actually be on the team and not recognize how good the team is doesn't make sense to me. How can you win a championship and then turn around and say, yeah, but I want Paul George? You need to trade, Pascal Siakam, Norm Powell, and whoever else they wanted for Paul George. What? You just won a championship with these guys. Like, what do you mean this team is not good enough? It just didn't make any sense. And to go from the high of the Raptors exercising the demons against Philly, right? That whole 2001 series, losing in game 7 at a buzzer beater in Philly, and now you flip it in 2019, and now game 7's in Toronto, and we have the buzzer beater, and we hit the buzzer beater, and we beat Philly in game 7. It's like, okay, everything here is aligned. Everything's supposed to happen. That's how I felt. Like, we're exercising the Philly demons. We got them out of the way. So now that 2001 miss now doesn't matter anymore, because now we got them back in 2019. Then we go, and ironically, who's facing us in the Eastern Conference Finals? Again, the Milwaukee Bucks, who we would have faced in 2001. And this time we beat these guys. We get to the finals. We win our championship. So to go as a Raptors fan, to be on the absolute highest of the high, just to then be crushed with Kawhi leaving and saying he's going to the Clippers.
Because you made a good point, because it felt like, yes, we won the championship and we celebrated it and all that stuff, but it did feel like it was tainted the moment he left.
Think about how short off season is when you make it all the way to the finals, right? Like, it's so much shorter. So I think that's also why we didn't get to really enjoy it, because that finals is mid-June, whenever it is. And then immediately it's it's like the off season, it's free agency. And so immediately we had to switch our attention to being nervous about whether he was going to stay or not. Like we had the parade, which was great. As soon as the parade was done, that was it. Now suddenly we were all anxious. They were following him and all this stuff with the plane and the helicopters. Because so we really weren't able to fully enjoy. And especially for me, my favorite Raptor of all time is DeMar DeRozan, like the opposite of Kawhi. Like loved Toronto, to this day is still talking about it. That's how bitter he is that he wanted to stay. And so if you're someone who was a huge fan of DeRozan, like to go from that to someone who didn't even care. He just left right away as soon as the season was done. Yeah, he wanted Paul George. Who knows? Maybe deep down he knew we weren't gonna get Paul George. He was just saying that. Maybe he always wanted to go to the Clippers anyways. So it's tough. Go ahead.
Abby, thank you for reminding me of the parade as well, because I was at the parade and there was a shooting, and I got cut up in that shooting. I was cut up and bleeding. Kawhi, I'm going to send him a medical bill for that as well. So many memories now. Now I remember. I forgot. I was cut up.
You got hit?
Well, not by a bullet, but I had to run, and I looked down, and my whole leg was just bleeding. So yeah, it was just 2 stampedes, and I'm just like, I did all that for Kawhi. I bled for him. I've waited since 1995. Okay, yeah. I was bleeding, real bleeding. I put a Facebook post and everything. You know what I mean? And I did this all for this man to leave. I'm hurt. Like I'm you can tell I'm really hurt by this. But
like all the talk about, like I hear sometimes on ESPN, give him Kawhi deserves a statue. What? What? Like these people saying that are clearly not from this city. They don't feel the heart of this city. Like to put a statue of a guy that wanted the next year said, "Peace, I'm out of here." Like, no way. But
I'm a little bit torn. I'm a little bit torn on the statue point.
Oh my God.
I'm a little bit torn.
What are you telling me right now?
I'm a little bit torn, but let me tell you why. Because I agree that he shouldn't have his jersey retired. That would be way too much, right? That. But how do we commemorate that we won the championship, right? How do we commemorate that we won the championship without putting up something, right? Like we have the banner, right? But everybody does that. But in terms of just the magic of that season, what would we do if not like I'm envisioning his shot against Philly, right? Like that was the hallmark of that playoff run, that championship run, that shot against Philly, right? So how do we not have something like we're going to put up a statue of Kyle Lowry? Like we're doing what? What are we going to do? What are we going to charge? Huh?
Taking the charge.
Taking a charge. So I wouldn't be mad if they put up a statue of that shot. I wouldn't be mad at that. I would not be mad at that. But I wouldn't retire his jersey. I definitely would not retire his jersey.
I'm like Drake. They put that statue up, I'm going to climb up there and pull it down. There will come a time where we're going to honor the 2019 championship team. It might be 2029, 10 years later. It might be, in 2034 or 34. 15 years later. Like teams do that. They bring them all out, they clap, they celebrate, hey, all that kind of stuff. And Kawhi Leonard, he's gonna get a standing ovation. He even shows up. Like he might not even show up. Like this is how we feel about him. Like we don't know. You know what I mean? He might be busy that day. He might just feel like getting his hair cut. Like he's just a guy that's like he's never shown any love for us at all. Right? So it's like I think we can celebrate the team, and obviously he will be the biggest draw, but I don't think we give him I know what you're saying. You want to celebrate the moment, celebrate the shot. I think there's other things we can do other than erecting like a statue of a guy that could care less about the Raptors.